Welcome to the stage. Welcome to Misfits taking on G2. It's Quickshot, Guldborg, and Caedrel calling the shots for hopefully 5 games. That's what I want to see. And straight out the gate, pressures on Misfits. This is a team that I think everybody will perceive as the underdog.
Yeah.
The team that has shown wildly different styles and games and interesting decisions. I mean, they won a game down 12,000 gold against G2, but this is the team that has to show today that they can compete.
Yeah, comeback kids, but they need to make sure they can find leads. And I think you saw it on the desk, 3-0 predictions across the board. Everyone seems to think that G2 just naturally have this series in the bag already. I mean, they 3-0'd Vitality pretty convincingly. But if you think of preparation, think of time, Misfits have had more. You know, they played on the Friday last week. Now they're playing today. They saw G2 play against Fnatic. They saw G2 play against Vitality. So I think if they're going to get an edge in this series, preparation is probably what's going to be the key.
Yeah, and honestly, that's a really valid point, especially because what we saw in first round of playoffs against Rogue, finally, I mean, they had their weaknesses for sure. I think we can all agree on that. But we also started seeing more strength. I think Neon stepped up on other champions that wasn't Jinx either. And while they still weren't consistent with some of the Neon members, I think as Caedrel just mentioned, it gave you more time to potentially refine a lot of these mistakes.
And we saw how kind of interesting best of fives can be yesterday in the Rogue Fnatic series, right? Down 0-2, they were able to come back. Rogue took the series. We'll see what kind of jungle picks we got in this game 1, because this is going to be a long best of 5, maybe.
Can Misfits surprise and compete? We're about to find out. It's almost time for draft. As we dive into game 1, picks and bans, the man on your screen right now, HiRit needs to improve upon his performances over the last few games. He's definitely been a player that has been punished, has been picked on, but when he does find a carry that works, he can be impactful. Unfortunately, it hasn't been recently.
And we saw his performance last year, so we know he's got it in him, right? He just needs the resources. Razor could always play towards the top side, but yeah, last weekend really wasn't his weekend. He got 1 solo kill into Odo, but that was basically it for Shining Lights.
Yeah, and I think that's the interesting part as well. The whereabouts of where Shlatan has been for the map for a very long time. He's kind of been the one that's been jungle tracked, and not so much him doing the jungle tracking. This time around with the bans coming through, facilitators being taken away, his main champion being taken away in the LEC, he's already out on territory where we've not always seen him too comfortable.
Yeah, looking at the jungle bans, we've got Volibear taken away, Hecarim taken away. We saw how powerful those picks were yesterday. Mallory, of course, popping off on the Hecarim and then the Trundle later on. Razork with the Volibear. Jinx first picked already. G2 maybe looking at some kind of AD carry pick here to match bot lane.
Yeah, I feel like Ophelia is still up and available, and then perhaps a jungler as well for Jankos. We've seen how happy he's been for the Viego in some of these instances, or even just a facilitator like the J4 if you want to play towards the bot side with an already mobile AD carry like the Jinx.
Yeah, and we saw when Misfits were successful, Vetheo was on. Champions where it can be a bit more proactive. LeBlanc stands out to me, but G2 have been the team. As I say it, they're going to take it away. But G2 have been that team in the last 2 best of 5s where they're the ones who give over the Blanc and they have answers and answers and answers. Lissandra coming out, Karma, Ari, and it didn't work in the initial series, but the series against Vitality it worked out flawlessly. But this time around, one who fancies themselves, the LeBlanc and maybe a Xayah as well.
You know, that's actually the interesting conversation as well, because for Vetheo's sides, we haven't really seen him on one of these champions like the Lissandra. We haven't really seen him on the back end of this matchup. Usually it's him with the agency, where he's allowed to perform when he gets resources as well. At this time around, though, going into the LeBlanc himself, it's going to be interesting to see if he's going down the route where it's like, I'm going to play the Lissandra, I'm going to be trying to facilitate my team in teamfights, or if I'm coming in with a completely different response like the Vex.
Well, the Vex is locked in. That'll be a first time this year for Vetheo. And for Neon, just a quick tidbit, didn't play that Jinx last weekend, but he has played 9 games this spring, with him winning 6 of them. And I think it was Jinx towards the back half of the regular season that really unlocked Neon's performance and play. Shlatan will be locking in that Viego as well. And this will be a player that we also have to keep an eye on. He's a little quiet last weekend against Rogue.
Definitely has been, but my eyes now on BrokenBlade. Jace is open, could early rotate that. Very popular pick on the red side, especially given 2 bans. Could also go for jungle to make sure that LeBlanc is sitting happy. They're going to go for the Jarvan early rotation here with jungle bans already coming through of Hecarim, Lee Sin, and the volley bear. Don't want to get pinched out too much with that Viego picked up, so securing themselves a strong mid jungle. We'll see where G2 favor their last pick though, because Rakan could be great for them, but counter picking top is G2's bread and butter.
Yeah, I feel like as well, if they want to be a little bit experimental, Poppy already has a lot of value into the J4, into the LeBlanc, and even into, if they want to bait them into the Rakan as well. I'm curious to see if that's something that Misfit would have prepared though, and that goes back to the conversation with time as well. So far, they're trying to take away some of these engaged supports, or rather peel back supports for the Jinx as well. Tahm Kench is a champion we've seen a lot of play, especially from Laprof, but Mersa himself haven't really been on these champions. He's been more of an engager, like the Leona as well.
Definitely has Thresh Band coming through because they have the Jarvan, of course. Want to make sure that the AD carry can't be so mobile, and there's the Rakan ban, just denying that Xayah Rakan synergy.
Yeah, of course, now for G2, starting to figure out what they're going to pick in this LEC spot. I think, of course, looking at the performances HiRit has had, we would assume that allowing that last pick to BrokenBlade, especially with BrokenBlade's champion pool and playstyle, this could be a hugely volatile matchup that could define the series.
I wonder if they're setting a trap here, G2, with the Jace ban, because that spells Gnar to me. G2 could blind pick Gnar on 4, but that just gives an easy Camille over to HiRit. So maybe they're saying, we know you have 2 blind pick tops. One of them is Jace, and one of them is Gnar. We want to see if you're going to pick that up, but I think Kennen could also be a pretty good pick for Misfits. So those are the 3 champions I'm looking towards. With the Jax ban now, they've also read this saying, well, now we're going to blind pick Camille because we don't want Gnar, and we've already banned away your Jax. So now G2 might find themselves picking that away from them, or just leaving top till last. We'll see what kind of champions BrokenBlade has into Camille.
Yeah, it's one of these things in drafts where you are setting up these traps, as you're mentioning, and yeah, it's not going to be either or. They're just banning away these top laners, putting in a more favorable position for BrokenBlade to really counterpick, and then the Renata already coming through into a composition. We've seen how much that does into a Jinx. Jinx pretty much all the time is forced to go for that cleanse, so one less combat summon spell in the bot lane for the 2v2.
Lots of dive on Misfits already though, so yeah, that's a good pick into it to make sure they can stop the dive. Is Camille going to get picked? Of course, it's very good into the LeBlanc, but into the Xayah could struggle. A little bit of mobility to get out of the Jarvan's grasp. But I think that Leona, good engage. I think that G2 not picking Camille on 4 basically spells out that they have a fantastic counter ready, whether it's something like Tryndamere, Yone, Irelia. I think BrokenBlade can dig deep into his champion pool to find some kind of split pusher, which will deny Misfits blind pick.
Can HiRit and Misfits hold him back? Quick note here, Targamas has not played a professional game on Renata, and Mersa's most played champion ever is Leona with 16 games. That not was locked in as you were expecting. That blind pick, it is a champion that HiRit has played multiple times, but has not necessarily had the game-changing use of the ultimates and the Mega Gnar timings in those team fights.
Yeah, it looks like they were too scared to blind pick the Camille themselves, so they're happy just taking the Gnar and letting G2 have the Camille. I mean, that's just a problem. I think blind picking the Camille would be safer with the Jax ban, but HiRit has got a lot of comfort on that Gnar. His Camille did look good last weekend, got a solo kill into Odo Amne, not respecting the tempo there, Odo, and getting killed by the Triforce power spike. But I think when you're looking at both these two compositions, Misfits, really good engage, really good team fight, really good scaling on the Jinx as well. G2, much more side lane orientated, right? LeBlanc, Camille, push sides, collapse mid. I think if anyone needs to be a bit more cautious this game, it's Neon, to make sure when he's getting collapsed on by this LeBlanc and Camille, he needs to pull it back a bit.
100%, but I also feel like that gives the ease of execution to Misfits. You know, if they want to fight around these objectives in the early game, they might have a little bit an easier time coming into it with the solid engage. You know, one engage from Mersa, follow up from Vetheo on the Vex as well. It's pretty much just press R and go in. And a team like Misfits might need this a little bit when they have been struggling a little bit with the synergies and the team fighting.
I think that is such a great point. And we talk a lot about how you can simplify team comps, make it really clear to understand. And this engage composition from Misfits can combo very well. Will Targamas be able to hold it off? Will that ultimate, the hostile takeover, be able to interrupt it? We are going to find out. Caedrel, where do we look early game?
Oh, definitely top side. How is the Camille going to fare? I think mid as well. You've got a Jarvan, LeBlanc into Vex, can be very vulnerable early. We saw the metas in Europe are shifting towards teamfight oriented metas. These are both team comps that could teamfight each other, but we're going to get into game 1, elimination match, G2 versus Misfits.
As you said, Caedrel, elimination match. Whoever loses today is done for spring. Whoever wins goes on to face Fnatic next Saturday. And just a quick reminder that Misfits last summer made it all the way to Game 5. They were one Nexus away from making it to the World Championship. For Misfits, will this prep be able to pay off? Caedrel, you were talking about looking at the top lane. Both teams right now, defensive starts, line of scrimmage, nothing too fancy, to kick us off?
Yeah, my eyes are on Jankos. I think Shlatan can look for an early full clear, but he's going to needs to make sure he's around mid. I think the biggest problem I'm looking at for Misfits comp right now is I look at G2's bot side. They have push in bot with that Renata, and Jankos can be a little bit more aggressive in the early stages with the Jarvan. So I think Vetheo needs to be extremely careful, and Misfits are going to have to juggle Vetheo's prio to make sure that he's safe for the first 10 minutes of the game.
That's the thing, right? For Shlatan, it's just really finding those full clears for himself, making sure that his laners are stable. You don't really need to look for anything. You're fine with just finding that level 6 spots for your laners. Then all of a sudden, start taking the fights around the Drake, start taking a fight around the Herald. But up until that point, you're pretty much gonna live off the priority you can get from a Vex into LeBlanc. You can get into a ranged into melee matchup of the top side with Gnar into Camille as well.
Of course, with Vetheo being the danger man for Misfits, if he can find some powerful engages on that champion, really, really easy to follow up on. Vetheo was silenced against Rogue. I think both their playstyle and drafting didn't really allow Vetheo to open up, didn't get the control either in the laning phase or find those picks later on. Right now you can see in that bottom lane, we caught a quick glance of Flakked and Targamas pushing into Neon and Mersa, as you would expect with that Leona lane.
Honestly, I think that is the question mark as well, because there is, like, you can't say I in team because there really is no, but there is a me. So sometimes, of course, Vetheo will be able to pop off, but I think for sure it's about Misfits, you know, finding trust in each other as a teammate and stepping up on the rest of the map, because one man might give you a few victories in a best of one, but you can't win a series of it.
Definitely, my eyes will be drawn towards mid, as you said there, Guldborg. It's going to be Vetheo versus Caps. You've got Caps, who I think this is almost like a redemption playoffs for him, where he's the last year or two, it's not really been clapped so much. He hasn't been at the top of his games. 2019, 2020 was when Caps was at his finest, and now he just needs to prove that he can still tussle with all of the rookies coming in terms of Vetheo. This is now his second year in the LEC, but the amount of pogs he's had, the amount of standout performance he's had in the regular season has been unreal.
I mean, you take a look at the statistics. Kill participation, first for mid laners. Damage per minute, second for mid laners. And damage share is Vetheo stepping forward, starting to bully Caps away. I do think for Vetheo, he's grown as a player, and he will need to step up and help lead some of these younger players, especially because of what we saw last weekend. Misfits are fallible. They are a team that has more issues to resolve than G2.
Definitely are, and they've had more time, as you talked about, maybe a little bit more preparation to fix those issues, because it's do or die in this series. Caps trying to cancel Vetheo's base there, and just talking about Caps a little bit more, he's kind of lost his mojo, lost his flair, because it was always, it's Caps, he's going to figure it out, right? And I feel like that kind of flair has disappeared a bit.
It's an interesting story, right? Because Caps, even in interviews, has been saying that, you know, it's more about finding a new style for myself, evolving as a player. And now, Jankos and Caps around this mid lane, Vetheo hovering towards the right side of the map. He knew that Shlatan just picked up the bot side scuttle, so he must know that Shlatan, or rather Jankos, is on the top side.
Well, there's the flash forward from Caps. The chains will land. Flag and drag interrupted by the fear, and Vetheo does get popped under the tower.
Fantastic mechanics there by Caps. Doesn't even hesitate a second. Flash EW forwards. Really, really clean there, just to make sure that even if Vetheo flashes away, the chain will still land. We talked about it. Guldborg mid lane is going to be where both these teams are focusing.
Most definitely, and that forces out an early TP as well. BrokenBlade on the top side, getting aggressive as well.
So much damage onto HiRit, but of course the range is now in HiRit's favor. He's backed out 110 HP to 220. BrokenBlade gets the level and starts to step forward, threatening once his cooldowns are available.
Yeah, HiRit's just going to back away here. I think what we need from HiRit, if you're a Misfits fan, is consistency. Last weekend, we haven't seen it. This split, we haven't really seen consistency. Lots of errors, and I feel like HiRit's a player that when he starts to fall and he starts to die or get called out, it just escalates and exponentially grows to the point where he's never really in the game. So being stable in this top side is very important.
Especially in a matchup like the Gnar into Camille, it gets so explosive. You give a Camille the early kill in the game, well, all of a sudden she takes it over. That's an early back. She and Vetheo once again feeling the pressure a little bit from Caps, and it just goes back to the matchup we've been talking about, Vetheo into Caps.
And of course, BrokenBlade into HiRit. Both of the solo lanes for G2 stepping up massively on Friday, taking over the series. And now today, Vetheo is being bullied and pushed back. He's already teleported back to lane. The chains will proc, gets the shield up. Caps continues to auto, and Vetheo will escape with his life for now. The clone is taken on. That was by a hair.
It definitely was. Gets away. The shield just about saves him. If he died there, Caps would push in the wave, would level up probably base, and the game would just be so over through mid lane.
That's the thing, Vetheo, though, he can't back on this wave. He already expanded his teleport earlier, so he has to stay under the turret here. But it's giving G2 so much room to play with. They know that Vetheo is going to be resetting off the next wave as well. Jankos right now can just go up, reset himself, start prepping that Drake, and start getting some objectives for G2 in the early game.
Yeah, and this just frees up the rest of the map for G2. The second you have the enemy mid under tower with no TP, and Jankos can spot out where Shlatan is. Top and bot can play so aggressive. You see it right here. HiRit.
Ooh, hook shot flashed away from. HiRit respects it, throws out the boomerang, gets the third proc, and continues to chase in the mini Gnar. BrokenBlade will win the trade getting that flash, but every single time he can, he's engaging and pushing HiRit back. HiRit's winning the CS war for now, and I think crucial to point out, Vetheo not falling behind in farm despite all of the pressure from Caps.
Yeah, you can see Shlatan going towards mid. As we said, they need to juggle mid to make sure Vetheo can get these bases off so he's safe in the first 10 minutes. Only one death so far, could have been two, but just about escaped.
But lane stains are currently so favorable for G2. Flakked has set a little freeze up for himself. They already got a recall coming through. You can see he is sitting on that serrated Dirk as well. So G2 currently, they are chilling. They are feeling fine about themselves. But remember, Misfits, this is not a big loss for them so far. They want to hit that level 6. Vetheo has currently just hit it themselves. You want it on Mersa too, and you want to start finding some of these picks as well with the composition.
I mean, both of these teams have had a relatively, standard laning phase here. A lot of trading up top. Jankos, the only member of G2 to make a move and gank. And once Misfits get those ultimates available, they do have those go buttons and those initiation tools, but we're dead even on gold. There's 1 kill advantage to G2. Neither team yet making big plays for those objectives.
And we talked about those go buttons, but the last thing I'll say is the funny thing about their go buttons is once they go in, they don't go out, right? Camille, Jarvan, LeBlanc, you've got Vex as well. When they dive on top of you, there's no real backwards trajectory. Only 80 carries might be able to peel back. So I think when this game will start to kind of explode out of nowhere around neutral objectives.
And that's the thing. Crucially as well, I just want to point out, Neon haven't actually opted in for the cleanse. He's gone for the heal instead. So once Renata finally get that hostile takeover in fights, keep an eye on Neon, because his positioning and dodging out of the hostile takeover is going to be so pivotal. Mersa with an engage on Targamas.
Got the stun, got the flash. Flakked will make his way in. Does have level 6 as well. The Flame Chompers are thrown down as a threat, and Flakked will be able to dodge with the ultimate of his own.
Trade of summoners. More so in favor of G2, of course. Just 1 flash for 3 combat sums on Misfits. Jankos has found Shlatan for now, giving information to the rest of his team. G2's mid-jungle just teaming up together.
Yeah, they're just very stable here. You can see Vetheo spawning in less than 10 seconds actually currently. Mersa, with the priority he just gained from the bot side, moving into the mid lane, and he can just show himself here. They can just push in this mid lane, and they can try and get some more control of the topside river instead. Jankos, just flack and drag over this hard flash on HiRit.
There is no flash available for HiRit, and he's locked inside the Hextech ultimatum. Hops over the minions, gets jumped on by the hook shot, and HiRit will be run down. BrokenBlade secures his first of the game. Despite G2 being up in kills, Misfits are even in gold, and in comparison to their last series, where they were down on average 800 gold at the 8-minute mark, this has been a relatively stable early game. The problem I'm seeing, the proactivity from Jankos showing up, he's getting advantages, and Misfits are being pummeled for the time being.
That's definitely the clutch factor. Remember Jankos, he was so good at stealing objective the other one.
Oh, locked inside that Cataclysm. The Herald is so incredibly low. The handshake chucked out, and the Herald secured by Jankos. And of course, now Shlatan will be the next target. G2 just surround, outnumber, and frankly, punish Misfits.
Yeah, Vetheo might be in trouble here as well. Might have to use the flash if Jankos has the mana for the combo. He definitely does.
Here comes HiRit. He's respawned and run back to lane. 3 members of G2 on the retreat. The Shadow Surge forward. Jankos is in trouble as the hostile takeover will delay further damage. One more chuck out as HiRit looking for the Mega Gnar. Ultimate is available to him. Continues to chase out Caps, who distortions to safety. Nothing at all for Misfits.
Everything was beautiful for G2 in those little instances of sequences that we saw in the hostile takeover from Targamas into the handshake as well. They just repositioned Misfits and our team fought them, getting the Herald, getting the kills, and getting everything on the map there.
Yeah, Trevor, you just cast the curse Misfits there, saying the early game was stable. They just lost 3 kills. A Herald, the whole map has fallen apart. And against champions like LeBlanc and Camille, they can really run away with the game. We talked about how simple compositions can be, but these 2 champions are very kind of individual prowess champions, right? You can make solo plays, is what teams tend to call it. And we're going to see a lot of them from this point onwards because they get the Herald and they get all the kills.
Yeah, Misfits thought it was simple in the beginning. They moved Mersa up to get that mid lane priority, move first on the Herald, but it's still very early into the game, and with HiRit going down, it was really easy for G2 to come in and contest the objective. This is why they might overstep their boundaries a little bit, not respecting the Renata re-engage and just running into the win condition of G2.
Yeah, a bit confusing, really. I mean, your top laner's getting ganked and dying, and then you're starting a Herald on the top side, so of course you're going to get collapsed on as Caps finds Vetheo again.
Yeah, Chains will proc, and Caps dashes backwards. I think, Caedrel, you hit the nail on the head. How on earth did Misfits allow that to happen? They did have a numbers disadvantage in the top lane already. Vetheo backed away from the Herald, and G2 don't hesitate. They punish the misposition. They secure themselves several kills, and they extend that gold lead to 2,000. Now, of course, as HiRit has been able to get a few levels and some items under his belt, he's starting to bully BrokenBlade and push him away with the threat of that Mega Gnar. And again, G2 first to make the move. They're starting to surround that mid lane.
Yeah, this is where you want to extend your gold lead a little bit more. You're going in for intel in the enemy jungle. You're tracking where Shlatan might be, and you're getting control of the Drake side area, of course, which is going to be the next point of attack. Jankos currently does have the momentum with the Vetheo as well, should they see it fit to deploy it anywhere on the map.
And we'll be able to just unlock a little bit more pressure, a little bit more gold. A few moments. Had G2 stuck around for a few moments, Mersa has that solar flare available, and Vetheo's ultimate just came off cooldown, but they pushed the wave in. They got control of that bottom quadrant of the jungle, and then we'll be able to secure an uncontested Drake. Once again, extending that lead and that advantage. Up in the top lane, HiRit gets jumped on. It is going to Mega Gnar out in just a moment. BrokenBlade continues to chase. He needs one more Q. Precision Protocol kill. Solo in the top lane, solo in the mid lane.
Oh my lord, it's just over from the solo lanes, isn't it? We highlighted Vetheo versus Caps. We highlighted BrokenBlade versus HiRit. There you go, right there. 2 solo kills at the exact same time on both those lanes.
And it becomes so difficult. It just feels like G2 is the one making the move all the time. There's no cross maps to come through. It's Misfits trying to handshake these exchanges, but nothing is going well for them in the early game. And now, with Caps and Jankos still around the mid lane, with Shelly just being deployed, more plates are going to go over to G2. Mersa forced to move into the mid lane, and G2, they'll just have to disengage afterwards.
Well, G2 trying to run away. Caps' flash, and he may need to use it. The clone's taken out. Kill secured for Shlatan. Neon is going to be the next target. We'll be able to sidestep that handshake for now. Dashes to safety, and we'll be able to use that Gale Force only, and the heal. Another plate secured. The gold lead extended. Misfits at least on the board, but they need to stem the bleeding. They need multiple kills. Here comes Mersa. He's jumped on with the Cataclysm at the red buff, and Shlatan and HiRit will try to run down BrokenBlade. Kill is secured. Mersa needs to chuck out everything. Here comes Vetheo as well. Mersa CC bought enough time for reinforcements. Misfits finally in the game.
Yeah, and honestly, very well done. They were actually
the rockets!
Oh, Jankos so close. The Golden Aegis, I think, is what saved him.
But this is what that I like to see from Misfits. The fact that Mersa and Shlatan is teaming up. Quite often, these rookies, we saw them be a bit more individualistic instead. But this time around, they actually move out on the map, and they get something going right for Misfits, answering back with the pressure that G2 has enabled.
Yeah, let's rewind a bit here to the solo kills, though. Caps misses the first chain. Vetheo steps up, gets hit by the second. All the meanwhile, HiRit falls in top lane from BrokenBlade, of course, and from there, it just felt like the game was over for G2, and I can just see the players. You can see Jankos. I mean, I was looking across the stage. Misfits just look a bit doom and gloom, and G2 were laughing all the way through those solo kills. But yeah, like you said, a little bit of signs of life coming out of Misfits now. 2 kills under their belt. We'll see what else they can get done.
I mean, take a look at the scoreboard. Here it is significantly ahead in farm, as BrokenBlade has conceded many minions with the amount of traits he's opted into. Now, for Misfits, they are behind in gold, but they have a lot of tools to start fights. Here, once again, the target of G2 Esports. Targamas will be the first in lane. Here, it has flash available to him. Targamas may look for that handshake and not going to find it. So, here it escapes with his life, holds onto his flash, and I think crucial. Misfits need to find more of those picks, more of those engages, and they cannot afford to lose more control.
Yeah, let's actually talk about Misfits needing to find more. Just great game so far from G2. Early game, extremely dominant, and we see this, I mean, in the regular season, they're one of our best early game teams in the league, of course, next to Rogue and Fnatic, of course, but we'll have to see if they can close it out. Right now, they have full map control with mid lane tier 1 being down, bot lane tier 1 being down. They own all neutral objectives, but the thing is, I think where G2 have kind of fallen short is a little bit in the mid to late game.
But you can also just see it now. Misfits, they're using a lot of resources to try and get one side of the map going for them. They just had to move 5 members up towards the top side to try and potentially find a pick. Herald is only spawning in 10 seconds from now, so they're a little too early on it. And because of that, they actually lost bot side, which now allows Flakked to push in bot and move up towards the mid lane.
I mean, the pace of this game has been dictated by G2 from minute 1. Jankos finding multiple successful ganks, being able to push those advantages, and then, of course, Caps and BrokenBlade finding those solo kills, just outplaying their opponents. Misfits now starting to group up around Herald. They may not go for the engage, though. I'm waiting to see as Neon is still in the mid lane.
I feel like they should. I mean, it's only going to get worse from this point onwards, and their comp It's a really good 5v5 composition, but it looks like they don't have the setup. Neon a bit too afraid to walk towards the river, Cap zoning him away, and HiRit not being there without the TP makes it so they can't really engage 3 versus 4, but an opportunity not so much missed, but they're going to have to find some of those around the Dragons as this game goes on.
It's also just so difficult. We'll continue to see this throughout the game. Walking into a choke point against a Renata, walking into the LeBlanc, walking into the feathers of Flakked. You need to be first on the objective and go for a turn if that's what you're looking for. And that's just going to be difficult when your side lanes are crumbling a little bit. So for Misfits, we're still looking to see them find this pick through the vision control, try to set up that pocket of vision, get that pick with the pickup position and go for it.
And you were talking about the word team, Guldborg. I think if Misfits are going to win this series or win this game even, team is definitely the word that they need because the solo lanes aren't working. Bot lane is lost, of course, because Flakked up in CS, up in XP, took the bot lane tier 1. So I feel like what we've seen now in this game 1 is the individual prowess G2 have over Misfits in the individual lanes. But I think as a team, maybe they do stand a chance. We'll have to see.
But it's the same for Misfits against Rogue, really. You know, the game 1 was really disastrous. They came back in game 3 and finally showed some signs of life. They're kind of playing themselves into the mood. And remember, they have Mersa, they have Shlatan. This is the first LEC playoffs as well. So finding that groove, finding the moment where they feel comfortable is also something you have the luxury of in a best of 5.
Luxury or pressure? Depends on how the players handle it. Depends on how they respond to it.
We gotta be optimistic about it.
I mean, we absolutely do. But I think, you know, on the Misfits side, they do need to find those engages. They do have a lot of tools available to them, but they also need to commit to it. Caedrel, when do you start to panic here? The gold lead continues to extend. Now it's 2 dragons up. Despite the fact G2 have had sort of absolute control, they also cannot disrespect the tools available to Misfits composition in those neutral objectives.
Yeah, I mean, just look at how G2 are playing the map. They're playing 5-man unit on every objective. If they're going for a dragon, BrokenBlade will be pushing bot, make sure everyone's safe. They're not letting Misfits find a pick before they set up a play, and it feels like every play so far has been dictated by G2. The only one we saw from Misfits, barring the 2 kills, was the Herald force, which was very questionable, and they lost out on. So now 3 towers over to G2. We'll see if Misfits can cross-map with his top tier 1, but I think on the next dragon, it's inevitable that Misfits will have to pull the trigger soon, because giving them soul point for the rest of the game is very dangerous. Mersa.
Oh, he's in trouble. Solar Flare will be thrown down. There's not enough support from the rest of the team. Finally, HiRit's looking to engage. Mega not just about to proc, and that's just going to be on the retreat. Neon trying to free fire as now Shlatan steps into the fray. Vetheo's holding on to the engage. No Shadow Shirt just yet. Flag and drag from Jankos puts him underneath the tower for at least 1 shot. And finally, Misfits reckon they've got time. They find 1, looking for more.
Oh, Vetheo!
All of a sudden, BrokenBlade's running for his life. Jankos is so incredibly low. Targamas stays alive just a couple seconds longer, and finally, Misfits punish G2. G2 are pushing the lane, and they got taken down for
Hello, Vetheo. We've missed you in playoffs, buddy. 1 game was fine last weekend, but this time around with Neon, the 2 carries of Misfits, the young blood is stepping up.
And it's great because just not too long ago, I was just about to say, how does Misfit get back into the game? They're just getting, you know, puppeteered around the map by G2 as well. They're the one finding the bot lane turret. They were the one having Flakked push in the mid lane, as you can see in the turret right now. And then Mersa, he has to go in.
This looks really awkward for G2 at this first, because you can see Vetheo TPing to that tower just at the top of the screen, and Mersa's already dead. So if anything, it's a 4v5 from the get-go. Flakked in mid, of course, is just going to push, so he's not actually part of this fight. Excuse me. So it's a 4v4 from this point onwards. And I have to say, as much as Misfits did punish G2, G2 going a little bit too deep here. Jankos EQing into a tier 3, and from that point onwards, all your dashes have gone forwards, so none of them can go backwards.
Let's remember, Caedrel just said as well, when you go in, you go in. There's no way out. So the fact that you overstay in a point like this really just hammers home that point as well.
It felt awkward on both sides. Misfits trying to set up that flank, that engage. It didn't really go to plan. Mersa was kind of caught out, isolated, but fortunately for Misfits, G2 pushed a couple steps too far, and because Misfits held on to those abilities, it allowed them to punch back. 20 minutes in, 2k gold down, and Misfits are still in this. They are still able to win these fights despite being in a deficit.
Yeah, both these compositions, sort of team fight. G2 can play over sides, but we talked about Neon a little bit, and if you look at his Jinx now, 2-0-2, he's kind of been the underrated carry for Misfits, I feel. Yes, Vetheo has been the flashy, superstar-ish kind of player, but Neon has been under the radar, doing so much damage in fights and kind of single-handedly carrying a lot of these games when he has champions like Jinx, of course, his most played this split so far.
And I think it was the second half of Spring where he really started to step up. I mean, look at that damage here. 29.5% of the entire team. He's got the highest damage per minute as well for his role. He's on his most played champion, and he's going to be asked to step up. G2 going to secure their 5th tower. They are still surrounding Misfits, and Misfits are fishing, maybe flirting with the idea of engaging.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Just look at the map right now. Look how much space G2 has currently. The inhibitor turret is all that that's left of the mid lane and the bot lane turret. So just going up towards that top side, you get so much time to move around with. Caps can push in bot side very deep now, can move into the enemy jungle. They can start trimming away some of these jungle camps and try and grow their gold lead even more exponentially.
Let's see what happens. The red buff is stolen, and because G2 have generated such a significant lead, they are pushing this vision line deeper and deeper into Misfits territory. If they overstep, that is when they will get punished. But they're grouped up, they moved as a single unit, and Misfits decided to hold their engages. They are content to wait this out. The next dragon will at least set G2 up for that soul point, and I want to see whether or not Misfits consider challenging Dragon 3 or Dragon 4.
I think it's going to have to be Dragon 3 bases coming in from Misfits, all moving out onto the map. I think G2 have said to themselves after that bot play, it's almost like a reality check. You're so far ahead, you're laughing, you're winning, but then as soon as that dive happens, you give up these kills. Serious mode once again, straight faces. Let's make sure we close this one out. All their vision, you can see on the minimap, is towards the top side of the map. So G2, after BrokenBlade pushes this out, need to translate it down to the bot side. Stopwatch is being bought across the board. Misfits look like they're poising for a Dragon contest. We'll see what they do on this next mid-wave.
And while there is a gold lead currently for G2, if Misfits want to contest this next Drake, it's not like they're very far behind in the item department. You can see Neon on the Jinx as well have finished up 2.5 items with the pickups as well. Kind of the same for Flakked, even in the mid lane. Then, of course, Caps have just picked up that Rabadon Death Cap, and I think that's going to be the biggest outlier. Keeping track of Caps, being slippery on this LeBlanc, can be so dangerous for Misfits.
Let's see how creative Misfits get here. Poising towards the top side of the map, 10 seconds on the Dragon. Are they going to call G2's bluff and say, we're going to start Nash? Vetheo basing now. Looks like they're not confident enough. I feel like if I'm Misfits and they're giving up this Drake, the only thing I can think of as to why is Neon needs Infinity Edge. They need a 3-item Jinx.
Yeah.
And that's probably what they're going to wait for. G2 will realize quickly this is pretty much free. Misfits, are they on the Baron? Probably not. They can see Neon on the mid-wave, and nothing will happen just yet. But still, when this gets picked up, 5 minutes time, we're guaranteed a 5v5.
And the biggest problem right now is that they can't really cross-map it either, right? And as you said, they kind of just want to scale. 3 items with Neon is what they're looking for. They're seeing that as their biggest win condition. Now with this extra pressure, HiRit can crash the top lane, but that's really all you can get. You get a favorable reset, you get a top lane wave pushing into you, and you get to buy more time. You get to buy more seconds.
What we're setting up for is a Soul or a Baron fight that could decide the game. Gentlemen, do you remember how those G2 Misfits regular season games played out?
Does it start with Elder?
It does indeed.
Oh, does it?
It does indeed. The one thing I will say is that when I asked Jankos about this matchup, he actually explicitly said that this time round, there's going to be more focus. The onus of winning those games is on the team with the lead. And I think Jankos is definitely not going to, let's say, make the same mistakes that they did during the regular season. But you cannot, again, discount the tools available. I think whoever pulls the trigger first may, if they don't land those skill shots, will just be re-engaged and punished, just like we saw in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Jankos with a wealth of experience. Both the side lanes were laughing a lot in the kills. He's going to pull them back, make sure the kids don't in too hard, you know, pull them back, say, guys, we need to make sure we win this cleanly. This is an elimination match after all. Now, Misfits grouping up mid. We saw Vetheo toss his ultimate out to try and catch out Caps earlier on. We'll be coming back up soon. 3 minutes, 40 seconds on that Dragon. I feel like G2 have options to force a Baron if they want to with these second item spikes coming in across the board. They can kind of not so much finish it, but bait that it's happening and then turn so hard with Camille and LeBlanc. So we'll keep around that for now as they're moving towards the top side. Caps pretty much unmatched in bot lane for now.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing for Misfits right now. Just stall. You don't need to get any objectives for yourself. You just need to keep yourself in this game. G2 getting Baron, that would be the end of this game. That would mean they get priority around the Drake. That would mean they get the Soul, and surely they should pick up the game. So for Misfits, they are on a little bit of a counter now. Those 3 minutes you're seeing on the Drake for the Infernal should be what decides this game.
When I'm looking at Misfits throughout the course of this game, I feel like that meme with the kid with a stick poking, come on, do something, do something, you know? It feels like there's a huge amount of respect being given to G2, fear, maybe, you can read into it what you will, but they have not really been proactive. They have punished G2 when they have over-pushed, and with the exception of that Rift Herald play, which was started by Misfits, it has been entirely the G2 show. So, 2.5 minutes until Soul. The Baron is another objective that G2 want to play around, and I think for Misfits, they really want to set up those 5v5s. Their comp is built for it. It's going to be HiRit jumped on. Tactical sweep will get thrown out, and the Hextech ultimatum is dropped. Teleport's now coming in. Jankos over the wall will lock in with the Cataclysm. Vetheo arrives, so does Mersa. Solar Flare is available. The rocket is dodged by the stopwatch, and Jankos will be able to back in just a moment. Solar Flare still not used. Misfits holding on to that engage, but they've saved HiRit's life.
Yeah, you can see how G2 want to play the game. Push in mid, collapse towards top. HiRit's overextended. Let's see if we can collapse on him. They get his flash in the end. Vetheo has to expend the TP2. G2 don't use any summoner spells. A lot of the ultimates blown though. Misfits now finding their opportunity with these ultimates down, that maybe they can contest some topside vision, but still 2 minutes on that Drake. Neon still a little bit away from that Infinity Edge.
Right, it's a small net win for Misfits as well. They get to obtain control of their own jungle, they get to pick up their own buffs, and they get to pick up jungle camps. It's one of these things in a game where it becomes a little bit stale. It doesn't become a battle of turrets or dragons or heralds or barons. It's about just taking away the enemy jungle, because they lose value when you gain it.
I almost feel like that's kind of what G2 sort of wants to do. In my mind, Caedrel, G2 don't really want a head-to-head 5v5. The amount of options and long-range engage from Misfits can really unseat them. But what G2 have used exceptionally well is that vision that Guldborg was talking about, trying to find those picks and then unlocking plays elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the champions, right? LeBlanc. Most people think LeBlanc is almost like this one-shot mage, and, well, she is, but she's also a poke champion. You know, around an objective, she can W forwards, QRE, one-shot you or get you very, very low HP, poke you out, and then you can start the objective. So you're completely right there, Trevor. I think they're going to look for some kind of split up for Misfits, maybe have skirmishes on different sides of the objective, poke them out before they arrive, or single someone out on a side lane before an objective spawns. But timer is ticking, and I still don't see an Infinity Edge on Neon. We'll keep track of that because they're funneling everything into him. He's basing now. Does he have it?
And that's the thing. Everything is just aligning for G2 now. Caps pushes in the top side of the map. Blue buff is spawning in less than 1 minute. So is Drake. Get that blue buff on Caps. Start doing what Caedrel just explained and poke a little bit. Just W in QR, just go out again and make sure the enemy can't really fight. So now G2, all they have to do, take control of the enemy jungle, put yourself in a great position for this soul fight.
And of course, the Infinity Edge was picked up by Neon. Is this the go button? 25 seconds
Has to be.
until that dragon spawns. HiRit does have his teleport available and is trying to deal with that bottom lane minion wave. That's going to be Mersa jumped on. He's forced to flash away. The ethereal chains will proc and drop him to 40%. G2 have got at least one player low. The dragon is spawning in 10 seconds. HiRit has rejoined 5v5. This is for the Infernal Soul, and G2 currently have control of the river.
You can see the tension. No one wants to step up too far. Caps poking away Mersa. Misfits need a way into this pit. G2, are they going to start it up? They found a way into the river. Caps is hiding, though, sweeping out to make sure he's not on vision.
That was great vision swap from the observers, highlighting Misfits forced. They're stepping into the darkness. They had no idea. Gnar is starting to time out. Can G2 keep Misfits away until Gnar pops back? He's going to be tired. We'll need time for that. There's BrokenBlade looking for the engage. It's caught down to the Zenith Blade himself. Blown up before he can
the dragon.
Ultimate. The dragon is going low. And it's stolen. It's been picked up. And Misfits are so far in control of the fight. Shlatan is exhausted and forced to run away. The re-engage from Jankos with the flag and drag. And that's one kill to Caps. That's Jankos being popped on the back end. And Neon is looking to get excited. That was a fantastic catch onto BrokenBlade.
Oh my word. They stop him in his tracks, instantly get the reset, and props to Shlatan. He gets the reset onto BrokenBlade, dashes into the pit, steals it away from Jankos right in front of him. G2 managed to get one kill back on the trade, which stops Misfits from being able to go to Baron. But time is what we've been talking about this game. It's been ticking, but Misfits just bought a whole lot more.
And the decisiveness from Misfits here, as soon as they spot BrokenBlade, because this is not a lot of time, they see him pop in. Mersa immediately just insta-engage. Great knockdown from Vetheo as well, dodging the stop. And then this is where it becomes crucial as well. Targamas with the W doesn't actually putting on any of his teammates. He end up pushing it on himself. So that Renata respawn that we quite often talk about, it doesn't come through in this team fight. So Jankos, he doesn't get the ability to reset. They don't get the extended team fight. And Misfits, they pick up the Drake, they pick up a few kills, and they get to back out.
Fantastic play there by Misfits. Gold lead still around 3,000, but they've stopped the dragon. And what does that allow? That unlocks the third or fourth item for these carries, right? Neon building towards a Bloodthirst, so Vetheo close to that Rabadon's death cap here, but a little bit more tanky. And Caps will be building towards that Void Staff. So now looks like Misfits poising to contest. Neon level 15 on this Jinx can start to walk up. You can see the pressure difference that we've seen in the last couple minutes now. Neon actually able to contest this midwave. Has to be careful though. Flakked playing a little bit aggressive.
So much damage. Neon does have flash if he needs it. Mersa and Shlatan are nearby. Solar Flare is available. Mersa may just need it. Zenith plays into the Cataclysm and BrokenBlade is looking for Neon. He's flashless at the moment. 4 members of G2 inside Misfits jungle, and Mersa will be the sacrificial lamb to G2 chase for more. They've got a numbers advantage and they've got control. They might push for Baron.
Eyes on this bot 1v1 though as well, because if HiRit kills Caps, he can TP in and Caps can't, but Caps just abandons it. They want to force this Nash. Neon stepping up. We talked about the confidence, but a little bit too deep. The TP's coming in, forces him back now. They don't have much vision to work with. Their support's dead. Can they contest this Baron?
I mean, there's a lot of ultimates available to the Misfits members, and of course, HiRit is recalling.
No
he's
flash.
got that TP up. They engage. The damage. Neon's locked inside the Cataclysm, but he's got the return fire. He is dropped by Flakked and now G2 once again in control. Vetheo is surrounded, as is HiRit. Meganon's just about to come up. Vetheo been chased down by Caps as well as BrokenBlade, and it's a chaotic fight as
Vetheo.
all members of G2 are now starting to split up. Vetheo blows up BrokenBlade and now looking to re-engage. Not going to be able to find it just yet. That
is he going to go? Is he going to go?
Still available. Long range jump onto Jankos. Shlatan and HiRit have been able to push the rest of G2 back. And finally, the composition is online and they are going toe-to-toe with G2.
Yeah, on the back of Vetheo, once again, he finds the engage onto BrokenBlade, and after that, it's just reset City. Great stopwatch for Flakked. He would have surely gone down if Vetheo was able to connect with that one. And Misfits, they somehow keep this competitive. They keep staying reactive, and it's working out for them.
Woo! Misfits holding on. Looked so hard because initially it was a 4v5. Mersa dying. Neon instantly popped as well. So then it turns into a 3v5. We'll take a look at this again. Neon just stepping up with so much confidence, and then just keep your eyes on how many people are chasing him down. You've got the TP from BrokenBlade. You've got the Jankos on the Jarvan as well.
Yeah, and you can see they just go in immediately. They know Neon doesn't have flash afterwards. And still, they just want to continue with the chase. They get Mersa in the exchange, but then it kind of becomes the classic G2 for this instance. They overchase it a little bit.
Yeah, definitely do. They go for the Nash Force as well. Neon, of course, no flash, instantly targeted out. So this is a point where it's a 5 versus 3. This is the 3 members, the top side of Misfits versus the army of G2 that it is, and it's Vetheo that they're trying to single out. HiRit was peeling so much, so tanky, and the stopwatch from Vetheo into the one-shot, into the reset.
Yeah, and HiRit once again with the Mega. This is where we can see that they want to go for the re-engage, and actually, Targamas once again with the W. It comes down on Flakked. He had the possibility to respawn, bait Vetheo in, but they go for this stopwatch a little bit synergy, if you can want to say that. And in the end, it is still Misfits finding the victory in that little exchange of fights.
And I'm starting to question my read on Misfits throughout the course of the early game. Yes, they fell behind.
Okay.
Yes, G2 were the proactive ones. But maybe Misfits understood that they were not significantly enough behind. Their patience has now ultimately paid off. I think a little bit of a lucky Dragon Steal on Soul helped them a lot. But for Misfits, now they absolutely need to use these engage tools. They need to go into G2 and deny the Soul, which is up in 30 seconds.
Yeah, this time it's going to be a whole lot harder. BrokenBlade has the GA, so the second he dies, he's still there. So they're going to have to keep tracks of that. Looks like Misfits know they can't go through mid-wave G2. If we could look at G2's vision here, they have the whole top side of the map, the whole top side of mid warded. They know exactly where Misfits will come from, but they don't have the bot side of the map warded. So that's exactly where Misfits are going to find their angle to strike. Shlatan stepping up.
That's the thing, remember? No flash on Neon either. He can't dodge out on the Renata ultimate, only with the Gale Force. So they have to come through this bot lane. They have to walk into a choke point of G2.
Jankos is looking for the flank. He's behind the tri-bush, and HiRit is managed to time out that Mega Gnar, get a couple hits on the minion wave, and will have Mega Gnar available for the impending fight. The minions will take out the tower, and Dragon down to 6,000 after waiting for that engage.
Eyes on BrokenBlade. Neon has no flash. He's trying to zone him away by hitting him over the wall. Caps gets a bit chunked out. Jankos is starting up the Dragon. Everyone's kind of split around the side. They're going in now, though.
That's the engage. Cataclysm into the ultimatum, knocking out members of Misfits. Neon is down, and so is Shlatan. Misfits are rooted inside the pit. HiRit will find a stun, but that's another onto Vetheo. And Shlatan, the last man standing for HiRit, will finally be dropped. The Dragon will be secured, and you have to assume G2 will play for Baron 2.
It's a beautiful wombo combo coming in from G2. All the ultimates aligning. Jankos coming in with the engage on the Jarvan, followed up by BrokenBlade and the hostile takeover for Targamas. And surely this will be the first game of the series going over to G2.
Definitely will be. Completely wiped off the map, Misfits. 5-0. G2 TP on the mid wave that was already there, and they're going to hit onto the Nexus. No one of Misfits to respond.
Not at all. The death time is long enough for G2 to finish it out clean. It has been G2's game. They have controlled from the minute they started, and Misfits will have to bounce back. I think the team fights, there was potential there. It's going to be very interesting to see how Misfits adapt in Game 2, because it felt to me like they were too safe, too cautious, too slow.
That was the thing. The team fight's a little bit chaotic, as you mentioned, but also the fact that they stayed reactive in that early game. You kind of get the feeling that if they got some of these fights going for them in the early game, if they found more picks to stay even leading into that mid game, maybe things would have looked brighter for them.
A lot of things to take away from this first game. G2, of course, need to kind of reel it in a bit. Don't go too deep. Misfits, maybe they want to think about the draft. Those solo lane picks both got solo killed, right? Bot lane never really had any pressure in the early stages. Maybe changing up the draft, have a little bit more early game focus. Maybe for Shlatan as well, so he can pressure the map a bit, so they don't always fall behind.
I was very happy to see that HiRit was at least handling the pressure from BrokenBlade. He had a significant CS advantage. Yes, he was outplayed in that solo kill, but that is a player that absolutely needs to step up and try to control and contain BrokenBlade. We'll find out whether or not Misfits will bounce back in Game 2 straight after this.
Even the biggest champ needs a break.